This is a very exciting day for us because we are recording our very first episode of Let's Talk About Fostering. Today we're joined by our CEO, Jo August, who doesn't only have more than 35 years of experience working in children's services, but she also grew up in a fostering household, so who better to lead our community? Jo's experience and expertise is so impressive, but today we want to talk about why she's dedicated so many years of her life to foster care. Hello, Jo.
Hi, I'm delighted to be here.
Thanks for coming in. We are so pleased that you've joined us. How are you?
Very good. I can't wait to do the podcast.
Yeah, and I believe
everyone who knows me, this is my complete comfort zone.
Jo, you're going to be amazing. We just want to know how on earth you ended up at Polaris, really. So if someone isn't quite familiar with the Polaris setup, how many organisations are you working with and what sort of stuff does Polaris cover?
So within Polaris, we've made a conscious decision to keep all of the agencies separate. So within fostering, we've got 7 separate fostering agencies. They all do something different. They're very unique. We've got children's homes, residential agencies. We've got 5 of those. We've got all of our schools. We've got 12 schools with more opening. We've got adoption. We've got leaving care services. And then we've got Polaris Children's Services, which is a unique mix of different contracts. We work with local authorities preventing children coming into care. We provide social care for the military around the world. So we do a wide breadth of different things.
We're busy people.
We are, yes.
It's something when you start trying to describe what we do for the first time to someone. Yeah. When I tell people, their faces are like, and not a lot of people have maybe heard of who we are, but actually when you get into all of our brands, busy.
There's a lot.
Quite a lot. What about your career? Can you talk me through it? Pretty much start to finish, really. A brief timeline, if you can.
Yeah, I can. I grew up in a house that fostered, so my mum was a foster parent, and I was meant to go and be an accountant. That's what I was meant to do, and I decided I wouldn't do that because everyone was telling me that's what I had to do. Quite a bit stubborn, so I decided, I'll go and work at the fostering agency that my mum works at. So I got into social care that way. Couldn't be a foster parent. I think that's one of the toughest jobs in the world.
Yeah.
But thought I could do something inside. And then I've done every job. I've been lucky enough to do literally every single job, I think.
What, like? Give me a few.
I'd say I was used to be on the bus, whether it was an escort or a driver, taking the kids to school. I've been a teaching assistant. I've been admin. I've been transport manager, I've been registered manager, I've referrals manager.
Wow.
I've done the lot.
You've been busy.
Great way to learn.
Yeah, there's no better way, surely.
Yeah.
You're a classic case, I think, of like people maybe accidentally fall into this sector and then you blink and like decades of your life has gone by and you're still here.
Yep.
But it gets people like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
35 years is a very long time.
Tell me about it. Makes me feel very old.
But we'll just brush over it. Why have you dedicated so many years to children's services, but especially foster care I'd like to talk about?
It's in my blood now. I wouldn't do anything else. Fostering is such a rewarding and complex role, and I couldn't do that. I know I couldn't do that, but I have so much respect for the people that do that. I strive that we're always trying to provide the very best support and care around those families because they really are making a difference to children's lives. I mean, as tough as the job can be at times, what better job? We're impacting children's lives. Who wouldn't want to do that?
Yeah.
So it's beyond me why you wouldn't want to do that.
It's an amazing thing, but I think it's something that until you're in it, you don't really understand. I say this to everyone I talk to, like until you get into it, you don't really understand the significance of the impact that you can make when you work in this. Fostering is something which has obviously been in your life for a very long time. As we've talked about very, very briefly already, you grew up in a fostering family. Just talk us through that. How old were you? How was it, discussed or brought to you?
It started when I was quite young. My mother worked for the WRVS, the Women's Royal Voluntary Society, as it was then, I think. I don't know what it is now. WI, I think it is now. And we lived in Kent, in the countryside. We had, a detached house. It wasn't super big or anything like that, but it was nice in the countryside. And we used to take children from London who were predominantly carers for their parents, with significant health needs, and they'd never left London, never seen the sea, things like that. And they used to come to our house and stay for a couple of weeks, and it was respite for them from being young carers for their parents. So that's how it started, and that was all voluntary, and that's how it began. And at the time, there was no independent fostering at all. And so that was all done with the local authorities. And there was lots of adverts that in Kent that they needed foster parents, and a foster parent was setting up the first ever independent fostering agency, which was ISP, which is within our organisation today. And so my mum thought, why don't I do that? I'll go and work with them. And that's how it began. And I think when she fully started fostering, I was about 14, 15.
Okay. So that's quite a significant point in your life.
Yep.
But so how old were you when you were doing this respite for the...
8, like littler, 7 or 8, yeah.
And then it carried on over those next 7 or 8 years.
Yep.
And then she went full, as we'd consider more traditional fostering, maybe.
Yes, yeah. And then she did that she did that for about 20 odd years, I think.
Wow. Yeah. So it really has been pretty much all you've ever known.
Yes.
That's incredible, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it was... it's very, very different, yeah.
And how about those conversations? So, 13, 14, that's quite a significant time in your life, growing up, transitioning into adulthood, all of that sort of thing. Was it a shock to the system, or is it because you've always had kids at home anyway, it felt quite natural to you?
Oh, no, I think I meant to say, it was lovely, really enjoyed it. Reality was I was a teenager, hated it.
Yeah, good.
I was late teens, so it was okay. But I didn't overly enjoy it. I did get to like it more and more, particularly as I got older. I played a more active role. I left home quite early, and then I was very active with the foster children, and I'm still in touch with quite a lot of them now.
Really?
And, so I got better at it as time went on.
Well done, you.
But I didn't like it when it began.
But I think that's really fair, isn't it? And you can understand why, but it's something that, it affects every member of a household.
Yes,
and
it really does. And that's important. Children who foster, that's really important to me as well, because they need to be heard and they need to have a voice. And it's a whole family unit that foster. It's not just one person.
Yeah. Why should people come and foster with us?
Oh, yeah, because we're the best.
We're the best.
We're the best.
Cut.
That's it. We're done.
That's the end of the conversation.
ISP was the very first independent fostering agency. That's one of our
in the whole country ever.
In the whole country ever. FCA followed very quickly afterwards. We've got such heritage within our community, and it's born from people who grew up around fostering or fostered. And we've never lost that, and I hope we never do, because I think that's really important. Having that understanding means that everybody in the community is striving for us to be the very best. I'm not saying we get it right every time, because we don't, but we are striving to provide the very best support, training, services around our foster parents to enable them to do the amazing work they do to enable our young people to achieve their full potential. And I do think everybody who works here really wants that and believes that.
Presumably, you have seen quite a lot of change over your years involved, like from your childhood and being involved in a fostering household to now, some years later, still being involved in ISP. How does it feel to be so closely involved in ISP and therefore Polaris? And what are some of the changes that you have seen over all these years?
Yeah, that's funny, because I started my career at ISP. So, and I was there for, I can't remember now, 7 or 8 years. And I left. I went to a different agency, a startup agency that was set up by the woman who originally set up ISP.
Okay.
So it was like it was a continuation. And then when the opportunity came around for me to come to Polaris, and ISP were part of that, it was like coming home. So it was like, oh, well, that's full circle. It's like, that's a bit odd. And of course, there was people there that I knew from like 15 years before.
Wow. So did you not know that at the time that ISP was part of the community? Or
When I was approached for the job, I knew that they were there, but it was a bit strange because it was like, I am coming back.
Yeah.
In a very different role. But it was great. It was great coming back. It was great seeing how it had evolved over the time. But the ethos of it and where it was started from was still there, still ingrained. There was lots of new people, but they still held that ethos that had managed to stay through. So although it's developed and changed over time as the needs of our young people have changed and it's changed with those, the ethos of ISP has remained the same, and all of our agencies hold a similar ethos. And it's very simple, and everyone says it, but it's really true. They hold the children at the heart of everything they do. It's not complicated. No. It's very simple.
We can all grasp the idea,
So it was great coming back and seeing how it had evolved in line with the needs of the children and the family and the staff. But it was still the ISP that I knew from the beginning.
I Googled the definition of foster care, and it said it's temporary custody or guardianship for children who have no parents or other relatives to look after them. Do you think that is a bit of an oversimplification of what fostering really is and perhaps the power that it has?
Oh, immensely so. Yeah, I very much do. Everybody who knows me will know that I don't say foster carers, I say foster parents. If you look up the definition of carer, that is somebody who temporarily looks after somebody for payment temporarily. It's like, well, that's not what we're doing. We're not being the young people's parents, but parenting is about performing the role of a parent, guiding, helping. That's what our foster parents are doing. And in our foster care agencies, we're giving every child, or should be giving every child that comes into our care, the full range of opportunities so that they can reach their full potential, whatever that is. And that's life-changing, and that isn't anything simple.
No.
That's a lot. And our foster parents do it day in, day out, and it's amazing.
Foster care, I think, does so much more than that definition like you've just talked about there. But what are the wider societal impacts of good foster care? What can a great match and a loving household actually do for the whole community, really?
If you get a good match, you give them the right grounding, you give them the right opportunities to reach their full potential, they then go on to have a happy, healthy life in society, adding value to society, fulfilling their own wants, desires, etc. That's the perfect outcome, isn't it? And there's lots of negativity that children in care end up more in the criminal system, etc. Well, that isn't the case. Yes, that's the case sometimes, but actually a lot of the time that isn't the case. And in our community, that's exceptionally rare because of what our foster parents are doing. And then, just that giving young people those opportunities, and then they are part of their local community, part of the society, and they're just part of a normal family, which is whatever normal family is. But that's fabulous. So
it's massive, isn't it? But yes. I think it's that, like, it seems like it's really tiny because it's this idea of normal, whatever that might be exactly. But actually, the normal is, well, we're trying to redefine normal for these people, right? Like, you can have nice things and positive outcomes and a good life. It can be as simple, I think, as that.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. There is still a lot of stigma surrounding foster care, and particularly around the children and young people. And we've touched on this a little bit already. And you've kind of said we're working really hard at Polaris to change the way that people think about these children and young people. They're not bad children. We hear this all the time. And I've had a few foster parents actually who I've spoken to over the years, and they say, when they start chatting to people on holiday or at the supermarket, oh, is this your granddaughter? Oh no, it's my foster daughter actually. Oh, she's very good.
Yes.
Well, Yeah, there's a lot of correction that needs to be done, and it's not to say that some people aren't without, additional needs or complications, of course, but actually a lot of it is a lot more typical than people might think. But I think we've still got a very long way to go. What do you wish that the average person out there knew about what so many of our children and young people have been through, and perhaps go some way in correcting that stigma that's still attached?
I sort of hope that stigma lessens over time. It's always been there, but I hope one day that disappears completely, because that just shouldn't be there. All of the children coming into care have been through a trauma. Even if it's a 2-week-old baby, they've still been through a trauma, because they are still not with their birth family for whatever reason. And whatever that entails, everyone's been through a trauma. When they first move in, these are strangers that they've moved into. They just need the opportunity and the chance, and people just need to see these are just children.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
they're not any different to any other child. They've just got a lot of trauma, and they deserve the very best opportunities. And people just need to remember that. Always remember, they're just children.
I think people are always looking for these groundbreaking outcomes, or this progress that looks like something like supernatural or so extreme, but there's so much wonder and joy and success in all of our little wins every day in foster care, and that's hard because that's not a headline, that's not someone has nice normal life, but actually the power of that, do you feel that all these people you stay in touch with, I imagine very few of them are like a rocket scientist, it was like something really...
Yeah, it is. It's hard, and it's been this way since I've been in the sector. So when anyone tries to measure outcomes for young people in fostering, then they'll look at things like placement stability, how stable have their homes been, which is a very good thing to look at. I'm not saying that. But then they'll look at, are they registered with a doctor? Are they registered with a dentist? Because these are measurable things.
Okay.
But then because each individual child is so different and unique, a fantastic outcome for one child is that they might now agree to have a shower once a week, or they've learned to write their name, or whatever it might be. It's whatever is for that young person is a step on that path to reaching their full potential.
Yeah.
And you can't measure that stuff really clearly or in a way that, like you say, the press would want to hear or anything like that. But that's the stuff that really makes a difference. So we measure it for each individual child, but it's on the individual child, and it really is important. Those small milestones are really significant.
It's such an important conversation, isn't it? And maybe for someone who thinks, I think this might put people off fostering. They think I don't have enough to give, or I'm not qualified, or I don't have the right experience, or I couldn't facilitate such significant change. But actually the change we're looking for so often is so small. And again, this normal, it's just normal life stuff, isn't it, for so many people?
Yeah, it absolutely is. I was lucky enough, I was at one of our registrations last week, and a young person had written something about their trauma. And when he spoke, the clear thing for him was that his foster parents never judged him. So even when something significant happened, or he might have got into trouble at school, he never ever felt that they would give up or judge him. So that's really important. That to be a great foster parent, you've just got to be able to understand and see it from the child's point of view. Any behaviours is a form of communication, and as long as you go into it thinking, okay, I've got to understand what that communication is, then you'll go a long way as a foster parent.
Fostering is something which has obviously been in your life for a very, very long time. You grew up in a fostering household, and a lot of children and young people that we care for at Polaris are growing up with foster children. Talk me through your experience as being a child who fostered, and maybe advice that you'd give to people fostering today on how to best navigate that with their own kids.
Things have changed over the years. So when my mum started fostering, children who foster wasn't a term. There wasn't any support groups for the children who foster. There wasn't any opportunities for the children who foster to have a voice. And it just sort of happened. And, I'm really pleased it happened to our family. I've given my whole career to supporting fostering, etc. My children benefited from growing up with my mum and her foster children, etc. So I'm really pleased it happened. But over the time, what we've seen, and something that we work very hard at, is making sure that children who foster are heard and seen and have a voice, because that's really important. Because the foster children's voice is important, the family's choice is important, but so are the children who foster voice is important. The whole family foster, everybody should have a voice in that. And I think we're better at that. And I think that families are better preparing their children for, if they're thinking of fostering, the children are being included in those conversations early. And I think that's really important. And yes, when reality hits and somebody moves in, it might be a bit tricky, but it will be worth it. You've just got to talk it through, work through it, and there's support there for the children who foster as well. And we mustn't forget that. We can supply training, we can get them into support groups, etc., to help that journey be as smooth as possible.
If you had to just select a few key qualities that you think foster parents should have, what would they be?
Emotional intelligence is really important, just to understand that behaviour is a form of communication and things like that, and resilience, because it will be testing at times. And raising your own children is testing at times. We don't all sit there with a smile on our face saying it's perfect every minute of every day, and that takes resilience. And being a foster parent takes resilience, and I think that's probably one of the very key ones.
We need more foster parents to help make a difference to some of the over 83,000 children and young people in care the UK today. Why should people come and foster? Full stop.
Despite what I've said, it is an amazing career, and it is a profession. You do get paid to do it. It is a profession. This is your full-time job. However, it's way more than a job, because you're opening your life, you're giving a young person the opportunities they deserve, and the rewards you get from seeing these young people flourish, develop, and reach their full potential. I mean, you couldn't buy that, could you? That's just, that is amazing.
It's an amazing thing to do, definitely. And it makes me so emotional. I say to so many people, before, again, it's that thing. Before
I can refer you as a friend if you like.
Joe, everyone trying to refer me as a friend. I've got to write the press releases, so I'm a bit busy. But it is so emotional, and the power that it has, and especially, like you've mentioned a minute, you still stay in touch with some of the children that were in your mum's care, and that's amazing. How does it make you feel, all these years later, to still be in touch and to actually see the lasting, because you see it not only at work every day but from your own life too?
It is amazing. It makes me feel very old, especially when one of them's just turned 40.
Oh wow.
I'm like, oh my gosh, how did that happen?
Don't worry about it.
But it's amazing, and my kids have memories of these, and they're still in touch with these young. Well, they're adults now,
proper adults too.
So it's lovely, and I think that's what happens. I've got foster parents from when I was a referrals officer, and I referred, and a young person was placed with them who I referred. And they still send me pictures of them years later, and and they're now adults and things, So it's wonderful. Yeah, the connections that are made are fantastic.
I'd like to close out our very first episode of Let's Talk About Fostering by you just telling us one of your favourite memories of your time working in foster care or life as a fostering person. So whether that's something that happened at home or an achievement or a professional achievement, whatever it is for you, something that you just think, something that always stays with you from your time.
Oh, there's way too many, which is a cop out. I know that, but there are way too many. I've got precious memories from every year of my life doing this job. One of the things that I think will stay with me forever, which is quite a new one, was the resilience of our children, our families, our staff when COVID hit. And we'd only just come together as a community at that point in time. And, the world of Teams, etc., became a thing, so we could communicate with everybody much better.
Yeah.
But actually, the way that our families and our children and staff, everybody reacted to that, I couldn't have been prouder of that, because I think they took it in their stride, and it made a lot of people stronger in our community, and we had fantastic outcomes on the back of that.
Wow.
And I think there was a lot of negativity about what COVID caused, and although it was very difficult, I think it just shows the resilience of our kids, staff, families.
Jo, thank you so much for joining us today. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to our first ever episode of Let's Talk About Fostering. I really hope that you learned something about our organisation and Jo's very long history
Thanks for that.
of working with Polaris. If you feel inspired by Jo's story to start your own fostering journey, or you'd like any more information about our agencies, please check out the links in our description. Make sure you follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode of Let's Talk About Fostering. See you next time.